What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I'm back with another episode of the NBA preview. Now, for those out there who missed the last episode, make sure you go watch it because it's a very controversial episode. Apparently, people just assume that the Cavaliers are supposed to be better than OKC. So make sure you go check it out. All the annotations and the links are where they're supposed to be. And let's go ahead and get into this video. Now, for those out there who are unaware, I do believe that the OKC Thunder are indeed better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. And in today's video, we'll be explaining that, along with the direction that the Oklahoma City Thunder are heading in, and what exactly we should expect from this team, because there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to this organization moving forward. But before I get ahead of myself, let's do a quick little wrap up. The Oklahoma City Thunder is an organization that has been in the NBA for now 10 years. And in the beginning of franchise history, they had a core of Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and I'm pretty sure we all know the history behind that big three. And unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, especially when it comes to on a financial basis and what a certain player wanted to do with his career moving forward, the organization was put in a situation last year where they only had Russell Westbrook and a bunch of other solid pieces, majority of which were role players. Now, Russell Westbrook took this as an opportunity to go out there, showcase his skills, and average a triple-double, along with lead this team to the playoffs, and eventually won his MVP. Shout out to Russell Westbrook because he did have a phenomenal season. But I'm pretty sure a lot of my OKC fans, because I felt the same way, we were really concerned of the direction that Russell Westbrook and the Thunder as an organization and the direction that they were going into. Sure, it's cool, Russell Westbrook got the MVP, that's all nice and dandy, but at the end of the day, we want to see people win, and we want to see them win championships, and Russell Westbrook being a one-man army really doesn't do anything whatsoever. But kudos to the Oklahoma City Thunder and their organization, the general manager, so on and so forth. They did a lot of moves in the offseason the last couple of months. Went out there, got Paul George through a trade, and also got Carmelo Anthony through a trade as well, and signed some pieces here and there to really bring things together, and in my opinion, actually gave Russell Westbrook the team that could potentially contend against the Golden State Warriors. But there was still one more issue that they had to resolve, and it actually leads us to our summer of social media for our clip of the day.
Congratulations on your deal.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, brother.
When did you have an idea that you wanted to get this done?
And speaking, like I told you last year, I like being here. I like where I'm at. I like to see the fans. And I enjoy where I play basketball, and obviously with the extension shows that.
Out there getting that bag. You already know how I feel about these young men, these men who are trying to, develop their brand and grow as individuals, getting that money because they're supposed to get it. And, taxes, they're going to cut some of that out. But at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook signed a contract that is the highest, if I'm not mistaken, highest guaranteed contract in NBA history. Some of those years, he's going to get paid $40+ million or more. So I see you out there doing your thing. I ain't going to hate, because there's no need to. And this is something that I had a big problem and a big concern with, because I didn't necessarily know what was going to happen after the season was up. But now that Russell Westbrook signed his contract, that possibly could persuade both Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to stay in the long run. But I guess we'll figure out as time continues to progress. And actually, speaking of extensions, let's go ahead and transition to our contracts and our depth charts so you can figure out what's going on. So as always, let's look at these contracts first. Patrick Patterson with a 3-year, $16 million deal. Raymond Felton with a 1-year, $2.3 million. Andre Roberson signed a 3-year, $30 million deal. Nick Collinson also signed his 1-year, $2 million, that veteran's minimum. And then also Russell Westbrook, like I alluded to earlier, with the 5-year, $205 million extension. Pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Going to overpaid players, Steven Adams next year making $22.5 million. I'm sorry, that's a bit excessive. And then when it comes to expiring contracts, like I alluded to earlier, obviously we have Raymond Felton, Nick Collinson, and all the other players who signed those 1-year veteran minimums. But we also have Carmelo Anthony and Paul George. Now, I don't personally know that Russell Westbrook committing to the Oklahoma City Thunder is enough to persuade both of them to stay. But even if both of them were to stay on the team, the amount of money they would have to spend is just ridiculous, and how much they will be over the salary cap and dipping into their luxury tax would also be really ridiculous. Something that I personally had a major concern with, because the whole idea of not giving James Harden the amount of money that he was requesting early in his career was because they were trying to evade the taxes that they were going to have to pay when it comes to building a super team. But you know what, I digress. Let's go ahead and transition to this depth chart, because that will definitely be a storyline that I'm really looking forward to in the offseason. Russell Westbrook and Roberson in the backcourt, Paul George and Carmelo Anthony at the forwards, and then Steven Adams rounding up that 5 position in our starting lineup. Then coming off the bench, which I know a lot of people are concerned about because there ain't too many really good players coming out this bench. A couple players I have to highlight though: Felton, Grant, and Patterson. Everybody else is really hit or miss, and I wouldn't be surprised if they really stop it at an 11 to 12 man rotation. One thing I really picked up on the first couple of games that I've seen them play, they play Patrick Patterson at the 5 from time to time, especially because they love to stagger the minutes between Paul George, Carmelo, and Russ. And so if Paul George or Carmelo Anthony is going to be playing that small ball 4, putting Patterson at the 5 makes a lot of sense. But that is definitely something that's really concerning, is that they don't have that much depth when it comes to their backup 5. But for the most part, especially when it comes to the starting 5, I like the team. I think the team is solid. They're not as deep as the Cavs. They're certainly not as deep as the Warriors, but their starting 5 is more than enough, in my opinion, to make up for their lack of bench depth. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and transition to our Twitter question of the day. All right, let's go ahead and knock this out real quick. 1, just because the Cleveland Cavaliers make it to the NBA Finals, that does not mean they're the second best team in the NBA. That just means they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. 2, even though, yes, Cleveland has more depth, and that's undeniable, that really is not that big of a deal because majority of teams in the playoffs, they trim down their lineup to an 8 to 9 man rotation, so it's not that big of a deal. And also, when it comes to their rotation and their depth, a lot of those players, Derrick Rose, Isaiah Thomas, D. Wade, they have suffered from injuries pretty consistently over the past year or two, and then you also throw in Kevin Love, so that's definitely going to eat into their depth. But again, it's undeniable that they definitely have a more deeper bench. 3, when it comes to chemistry problems, both teams have chemistry problems in my opinion. Russell Westbrook and Melo, that's definitely going to be a problem, but D. Wade, D. Rose, Isaiah Thomas, 3 guards who do not play defense, all of them need the ball in their hand. I don't understand how you don't think that's going to be a problem, especially when you're playing with LeBron as well. And then when it comes to D. Wade and D. Rose, neither one of them space out the floor, and all 3 of those guards really, really bad on the defensive end. So there's that. But finally, I want to be very, very clear with people. Really, we're just splitting hairs. If you think that the Cavaliers are better, I'm not going to hold that against you, and trust me when I say I'm not going to lose any sleep whatsoever. But we're just splitting hairs, and I feel like when you take the time out and you look at both teams, especially the 3 best players, on one hand you have Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony, and then on the other hand, until Isaiah Thomas comes back, we're talking about, oh yeah, and then Derrick Rose is out as well, so we're talking about D. Wade, LeBron, and Kevin Love. I mean, I just try not to overthink it. And finally, people, let's wrap up this video with how can they win the title. This is where I give you 3 pros, 3 cons on a team that I feel like has some chance, maybe a slim chance of winning the NBA championship. Now let's start off positive. First, we have a team that has a lot of potential defensively. They're very lengthy, very athletic, and if Carmelo Anthony is your weakest link defensively, you should be fine because there really is no team in the NBA that has so much firepower offensively that they'll be able to take advantage of Carmelo Anthony's defensive lapses. Second thing that I like about this team is Carmelo Anthony and Paul George are no longer the first option on the team. They're now taking a step back. Paul George now the second option, Carmelo Anthony the third option, and in my opinion, especially when it comes to Carmelo Anthony at this stage of their careers, that's what they should be. And finally, they have 3 really, really talented players. I know it may take them a while to kind of get everything, together and everybody's on the same page, but I just think when you have that much talent on the team, you should be fine. Now, when it comes to the negative side, chemistry problems is definitely on the top of the list. Again, I understand that there's a lot of talent, but it's going to take them some time, and hopefully they get everything together. The second thing is now Russell Westbrook is leading the way. He's going to be the best player on hopefully a championship contending team. And when you have Russell Westbrook, I've just seen way too many times where he's really derailed the whole situation with some of his antics and poor decision making down the stretch, and so I don't know how that's going to work out. But finally, the biggest negative, the biggest con, and actually this is such a huge concern that I could easily see why so many people would claim that this team is overrated, is that Billy Donovan is just not a good coach, and it's going to take a really, really good coach to coach these 3 stars together and have them believe that they can actually win a championship and get them on the same page within a year, which is something that I just don't think Billy Donovan has up his sleeve. Last year with Billy Donovan, the rotations were bad. Offensively, they were executing poorly, and even if you want to make the argument that it was just Russell Westbrook running the offense, that's still not a good thing because Billy Donovan has to start reeling some of those bad habits out of those players and hopefully passing the ball a lot more, and I just don't think Billy Donovan is up to that task. So those are my thoughts on the Thunder. Those are my thoughts on the Big Three. My expectations, 50+ win team. Obviously, I think they could go on and push for 55, high 50s, and I think that's something that we should expect out of this team. They're going to suffer and they're going to struggle a little bit here and there when it comes to the chemistry on the offensive side, but defensively, it seems like this team has the potential to be a really, really solid defensive team, and if that is one thing I think a lot of people consistently overlook, it is the defensive abilities of some of these teams. Now, are they going to be the Golden State Warriors? Obviously no, because I have Golden State above them, but I think the series, especially if we can get in the conference finals, and I hope we can get in the conference finals, is going to be much more interesting than I think a lot of people are anticipating. But let me know what you think about the Oklahoma City Thunder in the comment section below. Russell Westbrook's extension, Carmelo Anthony, PG, Billy Donovan. Also, let me know again how much you just hate my guts because I put them above the Cleveland Cavaliers, and also Andre Roberson, hit your free throws, okay? Hit your free throws. But with all that being said, people, I'll see you all tomorrow on the last episode of the NBA preview. Peace.